All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking time out to join us today. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Kean University's tuition hearing for the upcoming 2022-23 academic year. Under President Repillet's leadership, Kean University remains committed to the principles of access and academic excellence, and also to making sure that students are informed and have the opportunity to share their opinions and decisions that affect their futures. And that's why we're here today. You'll hear from several university officials who will review not only the numbers, but also improvements we've made, not only to the university facilities, but more importantly, to additional departments and staffs that President Repillet has brought in, and that those decisions were made with one goal in mind: to improve the student experience and your ability to succeed in the classroom. So without further ado, I think it's time to get started, and it's my pleasure to introduce our wonderful budget director, Jennifer Strahan.
Thanks, Matt. In this meeting, we're going to, if you can switch to the agenda, we're going to begin with the tuition of our other senior public New Jersey institutions. So with that in mind, we're going to give a comparison and show you where Kean ranks within. Then we'll move on and we'll show you our FY22 versus FY23 Kean tuition and fee rates and their comparison, as well as recent campus enhancement from Student Affairs and the upcoming Wellness Center renovation that that Student Affairs will be providing, as well as the Student Success and Retention Services and the different items they bring to the campus. Then we'll move into public comment for anyone who has registered. As you can see with this chart, we're looking at the undergraduate resident rate for Kean University compared to other senior public colleges and universities in New Jersey. When you take a look at Kean, you can see that we work to become an affordable university for all students. Kean University has the second lowest tuition for our students, making us extremely affordable for students. In order to remain affordable, we have levied different options at the university to become a premier institution and receive our R2 designation as we continue to work towards that. Now, when we move into the graduate tuition, you can see that we are also remaining affordable to our students. These rates are comparing FY22, which is the academic year we just released, and we will move into next year looking at a 3% increase. But when you continue to look at our other state universities, you can see that Kean is staying affordable for our students so that everyone can receive a premier education. Now I'm going to pass us off to Andrew Brandon, our CFO, and he'll discuss our FY23 rates.
Thank you, Jen. And as you can see, these charts, there's a lot of numbers on here, but they really just take the information that was on the previous slides related to Kean, and they just put it into exact dollar amounts. So for the full-time undergraduate tuition, you can see this is the flat rate tuition. In fiscal year 22, that was $10,445. In fiscal year 23, that'll be $10,758. So the dollar increase is $313 or 3%. I do want to point out that we did not have a tuition increase the previous 2 years. So, and that was primarily due to the funding we received from the federal government and the state government related to CARES. But we really held the line on spending, and we were able to continue to provide the high level of service to students that people have been accustomed to. But this year, it was just very challenging to do that. And I'm going to go over the budget figures here in a minute, and you'll see why. But so I just want folks to keep that in perspective. When you look at that 3% increase, that's really the first increase we've had in the last 3 years. If you just go down into the fee section, you can see that same 3% adjustment applies to the fees as well. At this point, we only have 2 fees remaining. We used to have probably 8 or 9 fees if you went back 5 years ago, but at this point, we're down to 2 fees: the capital improvement fee and the university center fee. So if you bring all that to a total with the full-time tuition and fees for a residential student for fiscal year 23, the upcoming academic year, you're looking at a full amount of just under $13,000, the $12,972. Below that is the same information for a full-time graduate student, and you can see graduate tuition is a little bit higher than undergraduate tuition, and that's primarily just because of the cost structure of our graduate programs, and that's not unique to Kane. That's pretty standard across higher ed. But when you look at the change there in dollar amount for the flat rate for the in-state student, you're looking at an increase of $473, which again is that reflected as the 3% change. We can go to the next slide. So rather than look at it from a full-time student perspective, we're going to look at it essentially the same information, but from a part-time student's perspective, or someone who's paying on a per credit hour basis. And so for a residential student, undergraduate, fiscal year 23, the new amount is $418, which on a per credit hour basis is just a little over $12 more than it was last academic year. We've had to make those same adjustments on the fees. So from a kind of a fully loaded per credit hour perspective for a in-state student, that would be $494.66. So about $14.50 more than it was last year. And then the bottom half of that chart goes through that same, gives you the same details for the part-time graduate students. We can go to the next slide. All right, so let's shift from talking about the tuition and fees to the university budget. And as you can see up at the top, it's clearly indicated this is a draft budget. We're obviously going to have the hearing today and take any input we get. And then we'll ultimately be meeting with the Board of Trustees at the end of June, and they will hear out our recommendation and consider that for final action at the June 27th board meeting. When we look at our university budget, we've built this year's budget based on an expectation of 10,250 full-time equivalent students. That's again a higher ed type of a calculation that we do that blends the full-time and part-time students that we have and brings them all into a full-time equivalent. So we're basing this on 10,250, which is consistent with what we did last year, and it's also consistent with what our expectations are in terms of the upcoming academic year. And then we've also built in that 3% tuition and fee increase as well. So when you look, this slide here just deals with the revenues, but when you look at the revenues, one of the main components of our revenue is the state support that we get, state appropriations. And that's broken down into two classes. One is our base appropriation, and then this new category, which has only been around for 3 years, the outcomes based. I'm not going to worry about the outcomes based right now, but from a base appropriation perspective, we're anticipating a little over $30 million for the upcoming fiscal year, which is actually $4 million less than we got in the current fiscal year. This is subject to change. We don't have a final state budget yet. We don't have a final indicator from the state of where that number is going to be, but our guidance right now is to anticipate $30 million in our base appropriation. Then when you go down into the other categories, there's the tuition and fee numbers that we looked at on those previous slides. If you run those through the expectation in terms of how many students we'll have next academic year, that translates into a little over 141 million in tuition, about 24 million in fees, and then a little over 11 million in other revenue. Other revenue would be things like investment income, revenue that we get from conference and events, childcare center, things of that nature. So when you look at the total revenue, what we'll get from the state plus what we'll generate internally as a university, we're right at 222 million for the on the revenue side. We can go to the next slide. So we're going to switch gears and go from revenue to the expenditures. And you can see obviously when we're a labor intensive type of an operation, a lot of faculty, a lot of staff. So salaries are going to be the number one expense category that we have. One thing you'll notice though is on the salaries, we have the regular salaries that would include all the academic and all the administrative salaries. But because we've made such a commitment, the president and the board have made such a commitment to hiring more full-time faculty, we've really rotated money out of that adjunct category and it's moved into the full-time regular salary category. So you'll see that reflected in the numbers there. If you go down into kind of still in the top third there, you look at things like material and supplies, maintenance, equipment, and improvements and services. Those are, those make up things like utility and the grounds crew and the janitorial services, snow removal, utility charges. That's where you've all certainly been reading about inflation. And if we expect inflation to really hit our budget anywhere, it's going to be across these categories. So we've had to make accommodations for some projected increases. Even some of our vendors have already come forward and said, I need an adjustment, which they may be entitled to based on the contract, based on changes to the consumer price index. So you'll see that built in there. Travel is another area where, because of the R2 initiative, we're certainly anticipating some additional travel that's been built in and accounted for. And I also want to highlight the scholarship and waivers. So if you put it in perspective of the overall budget, 222 million, roughly 5% of that money comes right back to our students in the form of scholarship and waivers. So there's 11.7 million. And that number will actually probably trend a little bit higher, but we put that in as a placeholder for right now within the budget. And I also want to point out that doesn't include all the scholarship money that would come from the Kane University Foundation. All those dollars would be in addition to that 11.7 million. So that's the total operating expenditures, if you will. It hits right at 200 million. And then you come down, you'll see total debt service, 18.4 million. That's been a pretty steady number for us over the last 2 or 3 years, and it's anticipated to remain pretty steady over the next 3 to 4 years. Then we have some allocations for capital projects, for sidewalk, roof repairs, HVAC equipment, whatever things would come up throughout the year. We also have some money allocated for deferred maintenance. Really, those are the highlights, and you can see it is a balanced budget at this point. We had the 222 million in revenues anticipated on the previous slide, and then for total expenditures and transfers on this slide would also equal that 222 million. Just one other thing I want to mention: this is our first post-COVID budget. So, and I say that hoping I'm accurate. But we're certainly not anticipating any additional support from the federal government or the state specifically related to CARES. We feel that that's really been finalized at this point. And so we're also hoping that on the expense side, that we'll start to see some things stabilize as well. Some of the special PPE equipment and things like that we were spending related to COVID, some of that will settle down, testing, things of that nature. All right, so that's it for this slide. I believe at this point, we're gonna go to Maxie Rivera, our Associate Vice President for Student Affairs. And Maxie is gonna walk us through some of the highlights in terms of some of the campus enhancements that have happened recently.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. Good morning, everyone. I did want to share some of the campus enhancements, as Andrew mentioned, that have occurred this past year, but also wanted to share a new initiative that's coming up for the upcoming year as well. So initially wanted to talk about the esports lounge, which really is something that's being directed out of the athletics department. And this is really exciting for our students because it is allowing a competitive gaming program. It allows students to, in teams, be able to compete not only in tournaments as well as exhibitions. So this is something that you'll probably hear more about in terms of how the teams are actually doing ahead of the competitions that are taking place. So this is very exciting for us, and it actually opens up in the fall of 2021. In addition, in terms of our activities and events that are going on for our students, the Myron Student Center, which really is kind of like the area where many of our programs are taking place, while clubs and organizations are housed, has actually received some great upgrades this year. And so, as many of you have seen as you've walked around our campus, we have an amazing recreation complex, which includes our basketball court area, as well as like a multi-use area where we've actually already had some events. That actually looks beautiful. And we added some pictures to the slide so that you can see them as well. In addition, within the Myron Student Center, we have an amazing tech lounge, which used to be our computer lounge. It is now a great open space for anyone on campus to be able to utilize. You can actually sit and do some studies. You can work on some projects. And in addition, you can even sign out a laptop. So for those of you who are on campus, who left your laptops at home and you wanted to work on something, there is a laptop kiosk within the tech lounge, which allows you to sit in, kind of sign in, and do some work in there as well. It's a great space. If you haven't had a chance to really look at that, you may want to come and visit it. In addition, as we see our activities continuing to increase, we've also done some upgrades in our little theater. And we, again, anticipate more events going on in the little theater. So it was very important to make sure that that space was welcoming, that it was comfortable, and it was going to be able to provide some real good service for our students. We can go to the next slide. In this new upcoming academic year, we're very excited to talk about right now a wellness center renovation that will be taking place. The university has seen that several students are really requesting additional services, especially after this very long time where we've kind of been restricted and some students are needing some more additional support. And so we, the university and the president has committed to really being a supporter of what our services are for our students in terms of support services. And so as you can see here, the downtown will take place. There will be a renovation in that area to really provide services for our students. One of the more important things that we wanted to do was to make sure that the services were very comprehensive. At times we'll see a student who will come in for one service and then we'll realize that the student really needs some additional services. And so because of the feedback that we have received from our students, we wanted to make sure that the downtown renovation was going to be a space which was going to be comfortable for students, which would be a space for them to be able to provide some of these services. And some of the services you see are actually listed here. So our Cougar Pantry, which supports our students who may have some food insecurities. We also have our Health Services Center, as well as our Counseling Center. And then of course, we have our Office of Accessibility Services. All of these services are free to our students. And again, they're available to our students who are really in need of these support services. So we are very excited about this new renovation project that will be taking place, and you will definitely be hearing more about it in the near future. And I'm going to pass it on to Carlos Rodriguez, who's our Assistant Vice President.
Thank you, Maxie. Good morning, everyone. As AVP Rivera said, my name is Carlos Rodriguez. I'm the Associate VP for Student Success and Retention. If you're not familiar with our division works diligently to help students feel a sense of belonging within the Kane community. And we're committed to every student's success. And our number one goal is to help every student succeed and persist to graduation. I am also joined by the Vice President of our division, who will join us on the next slide. So I want to just quickly cover a couple of our services for our students that really are in place to make sure that our students are being successful, that they're being retained and graduated. So our first one is SI, which stands for Supplemental Instruction. And our Supplemental Instruction program is an academic assistance program. It's not tutoring. It's more designed to help students succeed in traditionally difficult courses. And I'll give you an example. That would be chemistry. It would be pre-calculus, computer science, and technology. This past spring alone, we held over 3,707 sessions. Lots of hours were dedicated to prepare for those difficult sessions, and lots of hours were spent in those sessions, and many hands on deck to make those sessions happen. As a result of our efforts and our commitment to student success, we put in the time and money into a very worthy program, and the results are telling. Because of programs such as SI, our students are doing better in those traditionally difficult courses. And did I mention that our SI program is only one of 2 accredited programs in New Jersey, and Kane is the only 4-year accredited program in the state. If you'd like to find out more about this program, you can either visit us on the website, just pull it up, SI or supplemental instruction, or you can always come over to the CAS Center, and our office is located there. We'd be happy to either help you with any of the services or answer any questions that you may have. The next area I want to cover within our division is vets. We're very proud of this population, our veterans, because of the time and effort that we have collectively put into our vets. We are now nationally ranked number 1 in 2022-2023 military friendly school in the large public school category. Very excitingly, Kane is now exclusively featured on the front cover of the May 22 edition of GI Jobs magazine, where our ranking can be found. The last area I want to quickly cover and talk about is a free service for all of our students. Unlike other scholarships, the only criteria for this is that you want to take a summer course and that you want to persist to graduation. So last summer, in the summer of 2021, we decided that we want to assist our students and only who wanted to either take 1 or 2 classes during the summer to bring them closer to graduation. So we were able to create a scholarship whereby students could take up to 7 credits during the summer sessions. Remember, we have summer 1 and then we have summer 2. We dedicated a total of $1.2 million to this program. And from it, over 520 students were awarded an opportunity to take classes over the summer and advance at the institution. Not only were they able to take courses at no cost to them, where tuition and fees were covered, but they also received a stipend to help offset any educational costs associated with their classes. Because this program was so successful last summer, we have implemented the summer scholarship program once again. It's been a success. This summer, we have over 400 students that have benefited once again. And once again, we've included a stipend for all of their educational costs. Well, let me not say all of their educational costs, but we do provide them a stipend so that hopefully it can cover at least the cost of a book. I also am very happy to say that our division has helped to support WELL students. And for those of you who are not familiar with WELL, it stands for Work, Earn, Learn, Live. And this is a special program that was created by our president, Dr. Repollet, to help students with job training. Students also attend professional development sessions every week, and they receive a stipend for their work. And they're also have the opportunity to live on campus. And so having said that, our division is completely immersed in our student success. Our goal is to make sure that we are not only retaining, but graduating our students. And we have another exciting initiative. I'll let our Vice President, Barbara Harmon Francis, talk a little bit more about our CAPS program and how that's going to impact our students being retained and graduated.
Thank you so much, AVP Rodriguez. As he said, I'm Barbara Harmon Francis, Vice President for Student Success and Retention. And our goal is to help students persist to graduation. And we're very clear about that this is why we're here. We're here to help students succeed. And so one of our newest initiatives is our Center for Advising Persistence and Success, known affectionately as CAPS. And we have been open completely for a year. And we've done a lot of good work in a year. And the work that we've done has been a collaborative effort across divisions, and especially working with our partners in academic affairs and our partners within the registrar's office to say, this is what students are saying that they need, and this is what we need to do to help them stay on track to graduation and or declare a major, which will make them more likely to graduate. So since our opening in April 2021, we have seen over 2,500 appointments. And the interesting thing is that as the school opened and reopened, and we initially opened, we have been using QList to make appointments with students and to be able to see students. And students have a choice whether or not they want to come in person or if they want to do virtual appointments. What we're finding is that the students really responded well to virtual appointments, and also are continuing to prefer to have a virtual appointment over coming into the office. And so if you walk past the CAPS, our students that were here in the fall persisted to the spring, who were on the CAPS caseload. The Center for Advising Persistence and Success right now is set up to see incoming freshmen and incoming sophomores and initial transfer students. After that, our students are expected to be within their major meeting with their faculty advisors. We also have special programs like the Educational Opportunity Fund program, the Bridge to Success program, our Veteran Services program, and our Cepeda Spanish-speaking program that freshmen and sophomores who are in those programs would not need to land or see a CAPS advisor. They would see their own personal advisor. So I just want to put that out there and let people know. We are very active with the enrolled, not registered process. We work with our partners in enrollment services to see which students each semester are not registered. We reach out via text messages, phone calls, and also emails. The total number of contacts that our CAPS staff have had with students since August 2021 is over 14,000 contacts. And so I applaud our staff because they are very diligent with reaching out to these populations that we currently work with which are the freshmen and the sophomores. And then finally, the total number of students served since August 2021 is over 5,000 students. And I want to be very explicit that there is a difference between a contact and serving a student. A contact could be that you stop by and just ask us a quick question. A contact could be that you asked us for help with choosing a certain class. But then when it comes to talking about serving students, that's when we're actually sitting down and really working with the student and working on a success plan. And so that's the end of my presentation.
I believe at this point, we're going to go to the speakers, Audrey.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Hi, everybody. Happy summer months. We had two people reach out to us. One provided written comments. I just want to acknowledge that we received written comments from Ligia Yanez Torres, and those comments will be shared with the Board of Trustees. And Bala Subramanian has registered to speak at the meeting. Bala, if you are here, you have 3 minutes for your comments, and I will give you a heads up when you have 30 seconds left. I do not see Bala in the participants. Just double checking with everyone. Anyone else see him listed there? All right, well, you know what? I'll reach out to Bala if he wants to give us some written comments. I can share those with the Board of Trustees as well. And Mr. Brannon, I'm going to send it back to you because that is the public comment section.
Great. Thank you, Audrey. And thank you, everybody, for participating in the meeting today. As I said earlier when I went over the budget, the next step is to bring this recommendation to the Board of Trustees at the June 27th meeting for official action. So that will be our next step. And then everything that we've looked at today is, well, the draft budget document itself is available on the website if anybody would like to take a look at that. And at this point, we're going to conclude today's hearing. And again, our next step will be the June 27th board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.